Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Good versus Good podcast, where common ground begets common good. The focus of this podcast is to invite guests that have different beliefs to read one of my articles observing politics or religion. All the while, we actively adjust our comfort level being exposed to each other's ignorance. Remember, my ignorance censors his truth, his ignorance censors my truth. Because this is not a debate, my guest must decide in real time what is more important, being right or being civil. The guest has the final say. I may only speak when the guest asks me for assistance. At the end of the podcast, the guest will rate my article. I'm just happy someone's reading it. What's more important to you, being right or being civil? Let's find out. Chris, my friend.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm well.
Good. You ready to get started?
Let's do it. Round 4. Let's do it.
It's just this is the type of article where it's like, just like the last one. It's like, God, I just hope I nail it. It's such a the topics I picked. They're so divisive that it's like walking a knife edge. You know, so
Yeah.
like this one was like as concrete as I can make it. Where I don't think I try and paint any one side into a corner. I think I've done a fair job in trying to express the concerns of all sides, all sides, and ultimately I'm just trying to. I'm just trying to educate beyond what you would maybe typically hear. What you would typically hear, because I'm not a typical guy.
Yes.
So it has the propensity to make you think and maybe possibly change your position on your stance on whatever we're discussing. So
Okay,
with that being said, let's begin.
All right. Here we go. No phones allowed. My comfort, my choice. Okay, here we go. Let's go on from here. I'm an anti-vaxxer now. By definition, I don't care who I infect or kill. By definition, I will not jeopardize my body without proof my activity has been concretely linked to individuals suffering infection or death. Unlike COVID infection, proof always exists linking the death of an aborted fetus to the killer. Why is that? There's no evidence that a life is being terminated. Interesting. Yet there is evidence to support all anti-vaxxers are guilty until proven innocent. The precedent to disregard life has been well established. How many people am I guilty of infecting? How many people am I guilty of killing? Where's the link? This debate has everything to do with how do we return to normalcy? Okay, there's a break over there. Remember, we didn't get along politically before COVID appeared, so why should a global crisis usher solidarity? Normalcy has no congruent definition. The solutions proposed by the government may or may not require us to conform to comfort. Anti-vaxxers are required to conform to discomfort. Should a baby's life be sacrificed for our comfort? Abortion. The treatment of anti-vaxxers has been well established. Ergo, my body, my choice. Okay, yeah, so yeah, we have talked about this before, and I still don't. I don't know. Maybe we should read the whole thing before I comment. What do you think? Because like maybe there's more points there. Because
that's most of my concern. Because I think you'll raise questions that I think will be addressed later.
Yeah.
So maybe read it, and then just come back to it after the fact.
Sure. Okay, here we go. So I was here. Okay. Tell me this. What's the similarity between an abortionist and an anti-vaxxer? Life is inconvenient. The return to normalcy is a dream because normalcy requires cooperation from people we disagree with. For example, rivals. We are born divided, trust or truth. I trust my decisions will keep me safe. But the truth is, I'm no doctor. Can you trust a doctor to tell you the truth? The truth is they have a mortgage. Civility is like a summit. There's only room for one at the top. Let's be wrong together below the summit. That's normalcy. My body, my choice kills without consent. I concede, embrace that this is an ugly fact. No one wants to admit they're ugly. But we are all for different reasons. For those of you who get comfort to for those of you who get to conform to comfort, is it a coincidence you support mandating vaccines? Your comfort is not my comfort. Don't assume your compliance with authority suits others. It doesn't. Through liberty, nonconformist behavior mocks the judgment of conformance to consistently feed desperation to be correct. This gives rise to measures such as mandating vaccines to soothe the tempers of a sore and spiteful population. Normalcy has no congruent definition other than to conform to comfort to escape the shame of being linked to infecting or killing others. However, only those vaccinated against their will are conforming to discomfort to escape the shame of being linked to infecting or killing others without proof. Black males conform to discomfort to escape the shame of being linked to a popular activity jailed without proof. The absence of concrete proof invites rivals from a place of comfort to lecture and mock the guilty with an until proven innocent rationale to supplement the absence of truth.
Proof,
that's right. Okay, this is one of the many activities that has divided nations, families, friendships, and staff. This is what happens when life is inconvenient. What happens if I die conforming to my rival's comfort? I'll regret having conformed. Why? The desperation to prove rivals wrong trumps the discomfort of being accused of conspiracy. Vaxxers have blood on their hands. Do you know why life is inconvenient? Ask yourself, what the F is normal about anti-vaxxers? Normally, as I know it, conforming to comfort is just like the rest of us. When life is inconvenient, normal is conforming to discomfort. My comfort, my choice. We have a diagram. Okay. Conspiracy is a supplement for the absence of proof. Here's a real conspiracy. Vaxxers are organizing an effort to encourage the death of anti-vaxxers through mass judgment to expedite the return of normalcy. Okay. Supplement for absence of proof. Okay. All anti-vaxxers guilty until proven. Okay. Judging from a place. Okay. All right. It's hard for me to get behind this, John. It really is. Because, like, I said this before, like, everything is nuanced in the scope of anything that we do, right? And you talk about a return to normalcy. Well, like I understand what you're saying. Like, people just want to be comfort to go back to how things were before COVID was a thing, where we don't have to worry about all these other sort of lockdown and mask mandates and distancing requirements and all this and this. Well, like I said this a long time ago, just into people, like there is no going back to normalcy. Like it's COVID is always going to be a thing. Like this is like a culture changing event, kind of similar how like after the 9/11 attacks about 20 years ago, the airport security has never been the same and it won't be ever again. That was like a culture changing event where we now learn to put up with things that we never put up with before. And COVID is definitely another one of those events where now we have to sort of put up with things that we never had to put up with before. And again, it is basically for the common good. Like why do we put up with all the extra security at the airports for? It's because when we don't, there could be a potential for, like the worst possible thing, which is what happened on September 11th back in the day. And in order to protect ourselves from things like that, we need to have increased security, increased safety measures being put into place to make sure that when we do get into a plane or other places, then it is safe. And I sort of see that going on here now with this very contagious disease going around. Like it's, I feel that they made all these changes here at the airport. And now it's another similar culture changing event where we have this infectious disease, this very contagious disease, where again, our actions affect others in a major way. Like we like to be individuals, and we definitely are trained to think of ourselves, especially sort of in the capitalist system we live in. But ultimately we all are living together. We all have to share all the resources on the planet. We all have to work with each other. We are like tribal species in a way where we rely on other people. It's in our interest to try to protect others around us. And if we have a disease going around that's actually causing a lot of trouble for a lot of people, and especially with the run in our hospitals and our ability to treat everyone, especially what's going on in the States, in like places like Florida and Texas and Mississippi, where they don't have hospital beds anymore for anyone because most of the ward is filled up with COVID patients. It's it affects a lot of people for if not just one person getting it. If there's only a few people not getting a shot, it's not a big deal. But there's enough population where it's still allowing it to move around and festering. And collectively, if we are not protecting ourselves, it will then spread even more and cause more disaster and pain for people. So like, to me, it's not just more about being discomforting. It's like, for a lot of people, it's not about being discomforted. It's about life or death for some people. And I know that like a lot of anti-vaxxers or people who are, dismissing this, they look at sort of the stats, the amount of people dying. Like I said, someone to me says, oh yeah, there's like I think it was like a 95% survival rate for people above like 50 or something. I forget the actual stat was, maybe it was 70. That's still 1 out of every 20 people, or sorry, 200 people. Like that's still a lot, when you think of all of that. It's you bring up the abortion thing. Yeah, people often do get abortions because of comfort reasons, because they're not ready to welcome a child and all this. But to me, that's a totally different issue, because abortion is not an infectious disease. Like, if you are going to affect one life, it's only one life. And quite often, if it's someone who really, really wants to get the abortion, that they're not really in any position to actually be able to raise a kid. And then what kind of parents would they be, right? I understand wanting to protect that one aborted life, but if the parent really feels so strongly about ending the pregnancy that they're willing to get an abortion, then it's perhaps better off in a way, because then it doesn't, because then they wouldn't necessarily be strong parents per se. I know that that's not always the case. It's kind of a generalization, and you can argue with me on that, and I'll be cool with that. But even still, it's only one person, and it's one person affecting one person. It's not like a whole group of people affecting another whole group of people. That's in an isolated bubble. Whereas when it comes for vaccines, it's a larger bubble. And if you look at it from the other way, it kind of like, it's almost like people who are against the vaccine are almost holding the rest of the population hostage, in a sense, where we have a way to sort of go back to some sort of normalcy, even though culture definitely would change with distancing and like masking and our whole attitudes about working while sick or things like that, working from home, all these things are changing. But we can still want to go out and do things. Still want to go to restaurants. We still want to be able to go to sports events or theater events or festivals or things like that. And we have a way out to be able to do these events with some new restrictions. But if we don't have people collectively working to stop that or to stop the transmission, like especially an easy way, it's a free way for people. Then if people who are vaxxed, who are ready to move on, feel like they're being held hostage, or we can't do this anymore because there's not enough people out there trying to keep, or not enough people out there trying to keep the disease from spreading. And yeah, that's the way I kind of look at it. I feel like anti-vaxxers are holding the rest of the world hostage because they're refusing to listen to the general science consensus.
So I want to.
Yeah.
Can I ask you to do this?
Yes, absolutely.
Can I ask you to reread the article, and at certain points I'll ask you to stop, and then I'm going to explain the point.
Maybe I did miss some things, but this is like, sure.
Skip that first. Here we go. Yeah, start there.
Start from here. All right. I'm an anti-vaxxer now. By definition, I don't care who I infect or kill. See, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. My definition, I don't care about who I infect or who I kill. I don't believe that all anti-vaxxers feel that way. But, I think that's an overlay. Like people who don't again understand nuance, who are very much my team versus your team, they might believe this kind of stuff. But I truly believe that the vast majority of people who are anti-vaxxers don't care about other people. I think they're just misinformed about what they believe is caring for other people. I think they generally do believe or try to help other people. Because I have an aunt. Oh, sorry, it's my wife's aunt actually, who is not vaccinated and refuses to get the vaccine because she's very much into alternative medicine and holistic approach. She doesn't eat gluten. She eats only organic foods and all this kind of stuff. So she doesn't really trust any kind of pharmaceuticals at all. And her big thing is everyone should be staying away from all of that chemical stuff and just basically eat right from the earth and stuff like that. And I don't believe she doesn't care about who she infects or kills. She just thinks about, the feeding this in a different way. I think her opinions are probably a little bit misguided, but they're not because she doesn't care about people.
Well, I think you might be, what's the word? I don't think you speak for the majority, Chris. In regards to this, I said that term because if you're completely detached from someone and they identify as an anti-vaxxer, whether they know it or not, their actions, could they come in contact with somebody, could lead to infection or death. And it could be very much down to the stubbornness. Whatever the case may be, I use an extreme example because I'm bipolar, and this is the view I needed to have to write this. So, and I have to write this because I don't want to paint me in this glowing light, and then paint you in a.
Oh, I know.
You know what I'm saying? So what I'm doing is, I'm taking it as far as I can go to show you or anyone else who reads this that I'm trying to be as fair as I can when I'm trying to help convey what I think is truly occurring. It's a very psychological dance that's being played, and everyone can find something to agree with that the other person is at fault. So I've broken that paradigm by saying no. I identify as anti-vaxxer regardless of what I believe. The ugly truth is that I may very well may infect or kill someone because I'm not vaccinated. So it's just trying to present an ugly truth so that moving forward, when I say something, I've 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 been honest. So you're
Yeah.
more like the hope is that you'll be more likely to trust what I say moving forward is being equally honest.
Well, the thing is, it's like I'm even going to disagree with that in a sense because the way I understand it, it's like if you get vaxxed, you're protecting yourself more, and then you're not allowing it to spread around as much per se. But like again, if you look at who's because there has been breakthrough infections for people who have been vaxxed and they haven't got the disease, and I'm sure it's possible for the people who have been vaxxed to still spread it around. And but the symptoms are way less because everyone who's in the hospital, I shouldn't say everyone, but the vast majority of people in the hospital are the unvaxxed, and it's harder for the virus to spread through someone who is vaxxed per se. But for the most part, it's about protecting others, or sorry, protecting yourself when you're getting vaxxed. Like the distancing and the hand washing, the mask, that kind of protects others. But yeah, it's I don't know. Like I just look at the who's in the hospital, who's getting sick. It's always the people who are not vaxxed.
Like I don't want to get into the weeds of this
Yeah.
because I don't want to I don't want to. This is not a debate. I don't want this to
Yeah, I
be a
know.
debate. So just
I'm not the most articulate either when it comes to describing these things. Like I
let's
don't do this.
let's
Yeah.
keep going because the juicy stuff is further down the
Yeah.
page.
All right, here we go. Uh, by definition, I will not jeopardize my body without proof. My activity has been concretely linked to individual suffering, infection, or death.
Okay, so
Yeah, so yeah,
this
like if you live in a hermit, so as a hermit, if you don't go anywhere, if you don't infect anyone, then I guess that's fine. Like I think I said that before. But like but again, like if you're refusing to go out to these places, then I guess then you could be fine. But if you want to still be within society, I don't know. Like like how could you prove that you're the one who infected somebody? You know,
exactly.
like but we know it comes from somewhere, so it
Sure.
has to be from someone.
But who do you arrest?
Sorry,
Who do you arrest?
who do I arrest?
Arrest.
Oh, arrest. Sorry, how do I? Well, no, that's the thing. Like you don't like this is not something you would arrest someone for, because again, it's yeah, like I think you're trying to equate this with like murder. It's not, or even manslaughter. Um, like because again, because most of the people who are dying from this, especially now, it's mainly because they made the personal choice not to protect themselves from the virus. So like if someone infects them, I don't think it's on that person, you know. Yeah. Um, yeah.
So we'll go to the next point.
Unlike COVID infection, proof always exists. True. Yes. Linking the death of an aborted fetus to the killer. What's that? There's no evidence that a life is being terminated. Yeah, interesting. There is evidence to support all anti-vaxxers are guilty until proven innocent. Well, yeah. Again, like we're not like holding. Like I don't support. I don't support definitely like incriminating people who are not getting the vaccine, or making them liable for things like especially for a legal perspective. But as a whole, they are like this mentality. I think is basically allowing the disease to fester and still hurting people overall. But you don't like necessarily punish like individuals for that. You just have to, and that's why like if you need to have a vaccine card in order to get into like an event of some kind, like go into an arena to see a sports event or a theater or something like that, or it's in a way that's punishment right there, I guess. Like, oh, if you don't have proof of this and you can't go there. I know that for the Blue Jays now, you have to show proof of vaccination to get a ticket. I think it's going to be the case for the Leafs and the Raptors moving forward. I did get something from Mervish. Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I got a Mervish Play newsletter that says that, again, I think you need to show that you are fully vaxxed as well to go see one of their shows when they re-enter. So like in a way, that's how they're being persecuted or being acted as guilty, is that they're not being allowed to go to these places. And I respect that, because like if people show up and they're unvaxxed and then they get sick and then they start blaming like the theater companies or the events, like it's not the theater company's fault they decided to show up to a crowded event without being protected. So in order to stop that liability, they're refusing those people in.
So would you say would you say that's as far as we should go?
Oh, totally. Like, yeah, like I don't like, yeah. And this is the normalcy that I guess, or the that people are referring to, is just the freedom to do things. People talk about freedom of like my body, but what about the freedom of enjoying the things that we like and we enjoy? That's why I feel like, anti-vaxxers are restricting freedom, because they're the ones who are restricting people from enjoying things that we used to take for granted, like large indoor events. My wife hasn't been able to go to, she runs a dance school, and every year there is there's dance competitions. We all go to a theater or to an event room, and they perform their dances. We always have a year-end recital. We haven't had a chance to go to these competitions or to go to recital for 2 dance seasons now, because the dance season started pretty much in March. And it was March 2020 when it started, and then it went again for this year. So we went 2 whole years without doing that. It's a key component of her whole industry. And, now we're trying to get back to it. And now there's talk of a 4th wave and how things might be coming back again. And again, it's mainly through people who are unvaccinated. And then like she might be held hostage again from running these events, or running the events the way that they would be. Like, there's no freedom in being able to do things that we enjoy, because people are not being free to do that in order to try to protect the unvaccinated, when there's an easy way for the unvaccinated, easier way for the unvaccinated to be protected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's keep going.
Yeah. I don't know. That's the way I kind of look at it.
Well, for you, you're explaining to people that are vaccine adverse the other side of the story.
Yeah.
Because there will be people that listen to this that are on my side, side, that will benefit from hearing that you're not just foaming at the mouth. It's not a political exercise. It's just.
This should never have been political. I don't understand why it has become political. It drives me nuts. Like when
next
this
article.
has become like.
Next article.
Like, it drives me
Chris.
nuts that it's like it becomes part of your political identity to feel a certain way, And I honestly think that there's so many bad actors in media who are gaining from this hysteria. They're people don't trust the pharmaceutical industry, but they won't take the vaccine that's like approved by all of the health and drug administrations around the world, like the FDA, and I forget what Canada's is, Health Canada, but they'll take hydrochloroquine, whatever that is. I can't pronounce that word. And I've been reading that people are taking like horse dewormer now, because apparently people are thinking that's the thing. I forget what the actual word drug is, but they'll take these drugs, but they won't take the vaccine that actually is approved. But they'll take something that, somebody might said on some blog or because some commentator online said that this is another option. And, there's so many COVID cures out there that people are leeching off, and they're feeding misinformation about vaccines just for that way they can take these other alternatives, like the health, the wellness and health industry, the alternative medicine industry are feeding off this anti-vax rhetoric in order to get people to buy all of their stuff, all their supplements, all their pills, and all this and that. Like there's people profiting off of this, and I think it's disgusting, really, that a lot of people are trying to do that and purposely trying to spread misinformation. You get politicians feeding this too because it feeds to their base. It's what their base wants to hear. I saw Donald Trump get booed because he said, "I got the vaccine, and you should too," and people are booing him. Like this is the guy that in theory kind of started all this or made all this sort of normal. The whole anti-establishment. I don't believe the system. I'm going to vote for this outsider Trump, and now they're turning on him because he said he got the vaccine and everyone else should take it. He was the one who rushed the vaccines, to get it there quickly, and he was totally right about that, about trying to, strip away any kind of barriers to get these vaccines made. So he was right on that, like he's definitely not the most eloquent about that, and he did talk about injecting bleach and things like that, but like he did allow the process to allow these vaccines to be done really quickly, and now people are turning on him now because of that, which is crazy. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I believe I know why. If it doesn't describe it in this article, it definitely will in the next one.
Yeah.
That I do. But let me just see how many. So if we go down to a little bit further up. So it's really just down to, and when I say the desire, whether that's realistic or not, the desire is to return to normalcy.
Yes. Yeah.
It's not realistic, but that's the desire.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Like I think everyone now is going to accept that, when we go into crowded spaces, there's going to be masking. We're going to need to, like, definitely wash our hands more. Hand sanitizer is going to be like a permanent fixture, I guess, in everywhere we go. I'm a little bit sick today. I'm not going to just plug through and go to work. I'm going to stay home. So like normalcy, how it was before, is not going to be a thing, or even just the ability to work from home for some people. I think that'll be a thing now. Again, even with my wife's dance studio, she was talking about how like, sometimes we like to have like parent viewing where parents come in and sit in the classrooms or sit in the dance rooms. Well, now that's going to be too hard to do. There's too many people in. If that's the case, then we're like, okay, well, then we just set up Zoom, and then the parents can watch it via Zoom. And now that's going to be a thing now. We can just do all these things that we used to have to do face to face. We can do it over, over the computer now with all this face to face technology. Like we can do these kind of things. So normalcy is not going to go back, but we need to have something. Like we didn't ban flights after 9/11. We didn't ban some luxuries and comforts when it comes to that. We just had to increase a lot of the sort of protection there, for better or for worse. And I think that's the way it is with this. And if there is something that's proven to be effective, then mandating people to do so doesn't sound like the craziest idea to me, especially since vaccines have already been mandated in many other places.
Yeah, let's keep scrolling.
So yeah, where am I going?
Let's start.
Right here? Right here?
Yeah, start from there.
Okay. Tell me this. What's the similarity between an abortionist and an anti-vaxxer? Yeah, life isn't convenient. I see that connection, absolutely. Return to normalcy is a dream because normalcy requires cooperation from people we disagree with, rivals. We are born divided, trust or truth. I trust my decision will keep me safe. But the truth is I'm no doctor. Can you trust the doctor to tell you the truth? Truth is they have a mortgage. Okay, yes, absolutely. Okay, so again, this goes both ways. everyone has a mortgage, right? And that's sort of the system we live under. And we got some people over here telling you one thing, and people over here telling another thing. People are saying that vaccines are junk. They also have a mortgage, you know. And so it's so who do you trust, right? Like somebody's lying, right?
It's
Is it the medical professionals, or is it the people who are not part of that medical field, you know?
and let's say I have it on good terms that doctors, while they have a good reason to be respected, at the end of the day are people that don't want to lose their jobs, and that what was it? The oath, I forget,
Yes, yes.
oath that they take is really important, and to break that is really a big deal. So, I mean, it can mean the difference between lose. It could you could lose your ability to work forever, right? You cross a line and you get caught. You can lose your ability to practice for the rest of
Yeah.
your life. So it all it means to highlight is that there's a chink in the armor when it comes to doctors, and that they're not perfect, and just to keep that in mind.
Yeah. Yes. But again, like how many, like what is the percentage of doctors who fight or like who are saying that the vaccines are bad compared to the ones who are good?
Well, it depends on where you're looking. You know, depends where you're looking.
Because I would think it's the vast majority who say that they do work. um, I, I don't have numbers or facts in front of me, but that's the way, like that's the way I would agree. Because I think if it was the majority the other way, then they wouldn't have approved it. Like there's people at the top, and then they're dictating for all the doctors around, and all the doctors just have like they blindly accept it. I guess I don't know. Like, but again, like you can if you look at who's in the hospitals, again, it's the people who aren't vaccinated. The people who are getting sick are the ones who are not. It's clearly sort of working.
Yeah. Again,
Like,
this is not a debate. I don't want to turn it into one, but
yeah,
I think I I will not stand down because I have a good authority, which I'm not gonna say who, but
yeah,
doctors are people.
yeah.
That's the think. Put them down onto your level, and what would you do in their situation if your job depended on it? It's
Well,
you can imagine more than you'd be uncomfortable with the response. Let's put it that way. Even if it was only 10%, you think just holy shit, 10% of all doctors would break their oath just to keep their job. Like it could like that's how people see doctors. Oh no, none. They're like
well,
nothing,
yeah. You
nothing.
can always find like uh like you can always find like these bad apples everywhere. Like there's nobody's perfect, right? Like you see all these videos about some of these terrible cops who basically get off by um uh like hurting or being all aggressive to people who they're supposed to serve and protect. They go above and beyond where they are, just generally terrible human being. That does not mean that every cop is bad, right? There's always going to be bad apples in every field. Like I'm a teacher, and I've seen some pretty questionable stuff that happened in the classroom before, and it's like nobody's perfect, but the vast majority, I believe, are in these industries for the right reason, and they still do what's right based on there. And like again, like I've been willing to think that the most of the majority of the doctors out there are indeed, pro-vaccine. Like they honestly would believe that. And the ones that don't, they're probably the ones thinking about their mortgage. They're probably the ones who have some other other little angle to prevent them instead. Maybe they have some other deal with some other thing that they're trying to sell instead. Some other supplements or things like that. Horse dewormer or hydrochloroquine or whatever you want to call it. Maybe they're pushing something else, and that's what it is. Like I think it's a lot more likely that the nefarious people who are trying to mislead are the ones against what common worldwide science is, concurred. I think it's a lot more likely that a small fringe group are the ones who are trying to spread misinformation, than the larger global group. It's the more people get involved in a conspiracy, the harder it is to keep it under wraps, right? So like I think it's way more likely that it's a lot of this fringe who claim to know the real truth are the ones who are actually propagating a lot of the lies, and I think they're doing it because of their mortgage, because they see a way out of it. Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, of course, there's bad doctors out there. Of course, there's bad at everything out there.
And that's all I was meant to point out, because I think it's important that people know that doctors are people.
Oh, 100%.
And that's it. If you
exactly. It's why you can't just listen to like one doctor per se. But it's like if one doctor has his website and they're saying this or that, then it's kind of hard to hard to trust one thing. But again, when there's a consensus from a whole agency, I think it's a lot more trustworthy.
Can you see civility?
Yes, civility is like a summit. There's only room for one at the top. Let's be wrong together below the summit. That's normalcy.
So that's
my body and my. Oh, sorry.
So that's I think that's the key for civility, and that's why there's very little appetite for it. Because imagine you've climbed Mount Everest together, me and you.
Yes.
Right? We're just below the summit, but there's only room for one of us.
Yes.
In order for us to be civil, we have to both sit there below the summit. And it's like we did it, man, we did it. So it's this. Think of every debate or discussion. It's like we're sitting nearly at the top of Mount Everest, and to remain civil, we have to be the one. The one who breaks that civility and goes on the top is the first person. It's like the first person who's ever climbed that mountain. So they'll have the distinction of being the first person to climb Everest, let's say.
Yeah.
And I think that's my way of trying to explain why people have no interest in civility, because it's like you have to step on someone's back to almost in a way that you've conquered this lowly exercise that keeps you from succeeding or besting the people that you are in conflict with. So in a way, it's kind of ironic in a way, civility.
Yeah.
This is why we don't debate on this, because civility means if you value being right, then you're not interested in civility. You're interested in being on the top.
Yeah.
And you want me below you. And this is where people want to be, because no one sees the value in civility, and they probably would not get. The people interested in your perspective would probably not get it, because I'd be too interested in intervening with my own opinions and facts, and it's like that's not. It's all stuff. Everything I have to say, I've looked it up myself, and the people that are on my side have looked up the same facts. I don't know where you get your stuff from. It's completely different from mine, so it'd just be better off to just shut up and hear what you have to say.
Yeah, I get, and that's all fine and dandy, again, if it doesn't affect others, and that's where I think is the difference. It's some things have to be collective, like that's why we have a government, is to theoretically take care of things that are collective. We pay taxes for the government to build roads. because if we had to pay for all of our roads, that would be very inconvenient, and it would be harder for other people to come together. We've all sort of agreed that we're going to give money to this one sort of organization who's going to make all of our roads, and they're going to make decisions about roads and things like that, in order to make it to be for better. And I think healthcare falls under that jurisdiction as well, where they, it's like sometimes like facts are facts sometimes. Like 2 + 2 is 4, 2 + 2 is not 5. And if you're trying to convince me that 2 + 2 is 5, like it's hard for people to be civil and just be like, well, this person thinks 2 + 2 is 5. And so, I guess some people think it's 5 and some people think it's 4. And that's where a lot of it comes from, is like you might be able to see some weird evidence or look at it from a certain angle, or some sort of illusion where 2 + 2 might look like it's 5, but it's not. and I think that's where a lot of it comes from. It's when it comes for things like this, sometimes there is an objective truth, and it's not just like, but I think fine, you think fine, we can just live with each other. It's and when it comes for, again, a bigger society, we have to make decisions based on the better good for all of us. And it just, the way I look at it, if you don't want to get a vaccine, that's fine, but then you're basically opting out of certain things. I don't think it's fair for you to not get a vaccine and then screen discrimination when you're not allowed on a cruise ship.
Yep. Yep.
And again, this is not new. We've been doing this for years. Like in order for kids to go to school, they need to have vaccinated for measles and mumps and rubella and tetanus and things like this. Like these are diseases that we have gotten rid of because of vaccines. Like this is not new. This is just one more to the list. And like if COVID wasn't as infectious as it was, then this wouldn't even be an issue, right? It wouldn't. It's only because it is really infectious, and that's that.
Let's keep going, because there's some good stuff that we can talk about.
So where did I leave here? That's normalcy. My body, my choice kills without consent. I concede. I embrace. This is an ugly fact. No one wants to admit they're ugly, but we all are for different reasons. So basically, you are conceding that because you're choosing not to get vaccinated, you are killing others. Is that what you're trying to say there?
Yep.
Like you're kind of conceding that?
I have to concede that, even though there's no...
Sorry.
You can't... What?
All of a sudden, you're kind of breaking up. I don't hear you now.
I concede...
Hello?
I concede that...
Okay.
That by not vaccinating, I increase the risk of infecting or killing others.
Yeah. Okay. But we are. Where are we? For those of you who get to conform to comfort, is it a coincidence that you support mandating vaccines? Your comfort is not my comfort. Don't disturb your appliance with authority suits others. It doesn't. Through liberty, nonconformist behavior mocks the judgment and conformists to constantly feed the desperation to be correct.
And so this is the behavior...
This gives rise to measures such as mandating vaccines to soothe the tempers and of a sore and spiteful population. Yeah. So basically, you're saying that you should not give up your comfort for other people's comfort, in a sense.
Well, it's... Sorry, go ahead.
So I think, I was actually waiting for you to respond to that.
Okay.
Is that what you meant by that?
So it's... You're... Right now, Chris, you're in a place of comfort because you've taken the vaccine. You believe you are now safer having taken it?
Yes.
And you've conformed to comfort by supporting the mandating of vaccines. don't believe.
I support mandating it in certain situations,
Well, I mean, the
like
government,
certain settings,
the
for certain
government,
settings.
like to put it in context, schools are now mandating the vaccines of the staff, and even I might even be the children at some point. So it's just to say that it's great to be in a place of comfort, and it's great to, if you're in a place of comfort, to support policy or mandates that not, I don't know, validate is the best word, but it's like you're in line with what the governing body wants the population to do. And for those of us, for instance me, who have to conform to discomfort, because that's not what I want to do. And what happens is there's this desperation to be correct. And this is based off of that Vice video you sent me. That's why I wanted you to read this a second time, because I wanted you to really pick this up so I could explain it. Remember, like you were saying, the people, like, let's be honest, the people that are there, they were overweight, they were unintelligent, right? They didn't know what they're talking about.
Oh, yes. Now I remember the video you're talking about.
Okay.
I had to think about which one.
So then
I've seen a few videos.
The Vice reporter, asked us, now that you've gone through the toils of COVID.
You kind of broken up a bit.
Oh, okay. Now that you've gone through it, would you take the vaccine? And they say no. Because they heard things, they couldn't articulate it. It paints them in a light where it's like, for you, this is an alignment of what I believe and what I believe. So it's like, great. And I'm like, my question is, why the fuck are they so... If they've gone through it and they were hospitalized and they still do not want to get vaccinated, is it stubbornness? Is it stupidity?
Well, because again, like some people feel that once you've got it, then you're now immune to it. You're immune one way or the other. You either get it and survive, or you take the vaccine. So maybe that's probably why, I guess. It's like, okay, I got through the worst of it now. So maybe that's what it is, or or maybe just so ingrained into their identity that it's hard for them to quit. But again, there's been cases, again, the opposite, where people have gotten sick and then they're like, holy crap, I should have got the vaccine. Please take it. Look at me. I'm a wreck now. I should have listened, but I didn't.
I know.
So there's people on both ends of that too.
Yeah. It's there's not. I won't. Again, I'm not going to make this a debate. I just want to say this point: the desperation to be correct. I think that's, for me, for someone let's call them conspiracy theorists, because I think the people in that video, or the doctors, or even yourself, they're investing. In the absence of proof, lives conspiracy. Okay, and they've adopted this because there is a desperation to be correct. There's a desperation to be correct. And what I believe is what's driving this, which you'll read down below, is those who have conformed to comfort are pressuring, along with the government. There's a natural bond between the people who have conformed to comfort and the governing body who has mandated what comfort should look like. They're pressuring conspiracy theorists, anti-vaxxers, people like me, to go further and further and further. I must be correct. I must be correct. I must dive deeper. I must dive harder. And this point where our lives are eroding. Our lives are eroding because we're running for our lives. In our heads, we're running for our lives. You guys saying, no, take this. We're running for our lives because we're in a desperate need to be correct, because we don't trust it. If you keep reading, this paragraph, scroll up a bit. Scroll up, this one. Normalcy has no congruent definition.
Normalcy is no congruent definition other to conform to comfort, to escape the shame being linked to infecting or killing others. However, only those vaccinated against their will are conforming to discomfort to escape the shame of being linked to infecting or killing others without proof. Black males conform to discomfort to escape the shame of being linked to a popular activity, jailed without proof. I'm not sure what you mean by that. They Yeah, can you explain that? I don't really get that part.
Okay.
They conform to discomfort to escape the shame of being linked to. I guess they have to. I guess what you're trying to say is that they have to put on like more of an act in order to show that they're not criminals. I guess is that what you're trying to say?
Well,
Because
there's a stigma.
like a black male has to be even more professional or more like qualified than their white peers in order to, be shown as equal. They have to be better than others in order to be considered equal. Is that what you're trying to say by that? I'm not sure what you mean by this.
Simpler than that. Basically, okay. I'm of the mind. I'm of the mind now that I don't think the population are aware of what they're doing. People are vaccinated. They're acting, like I said, they've conformed to comfort, and it's in alignment with the governing body. The governing body is well aware what would happen, and there's no marching orders involved. They said, you take this vaccine, you can return to normal, essentially. What that's done is the people that do not trust the government, okay, just like I used the example of abortion, a precedent has been set for what's it called? A precedent for life has been set, or not the mistreatment. I can't remember the word I used up further up. Right? Proof exists who terminates the baby, if you believe that's the case. All I'm saying is we make a mental leap saying if people out there want to make a mental leap about abortion, fine. Okay? We accept that. We live with it. We deal with it fine. What I'm also saying is that there's a belief that all anti-vaxxers are guilty to proven innocent because they stand in the way of your comfort, going back to the normal or whatever that looks like, right?
Yeah.
That in itself is creating a pressure through all tracks. We're getting nonstop. I hear it on the radio. I hear it on TV. I watch it on YouTube. I hear it from people. I hear it all over the place about, one, get vaccinated. Two, fuck the people who aren't vaccinated. And it's this license they hate. And what this is doing, it's driving people in my positions. I have an urgency to be correct. So then the day comes, when they come for me, when they mandate the vaccine, and Cynthia may lose her job, our only hope is that we can present enough information saying, hey, I have underlying conditions. Maybe I'm not the best candidate for this. Okay? So the urgency is there. The urgency to be right is there, even if it's irrational. And I think for the argument, you're making the argument that need to be correct is irrational because it's you're spitting in the face of people who have professionals, doctors around the world. They're telling you, no, this works. But you're the one who's been on disability leave for 7 years. Who's barely passed high school. No, you're the one that's going to turn the tide.
Yes.
So, but it's all about I'm just trying to capture what's occurring. I'm not trying to be right in this case. I'm just trying to capture what's occurring. If you keep going, the absence of concrete proof invites rivals from a place of comfort to lecture and mock the guilty with an until proven innocent rationale to supplement the absence of proof. So using black males as an example, right? There's a disproportionate amount of black males that get arrested. right?
I'm having connection issues. Like sometimes you're conking out, or I don't hear you.
Okay. Well, I don't know what to do about that.
Okay.
Hopefully it doesn't. So I was just talking about there is a stigma with black males because there is a disproportionate amount of black males that get arrested,
Yes.
charged without proof. So all I'm saying is that there's a precedence set
I see. Okay.
where that it's not down to the color of our skin, but it's our mentality towards vaccine. We're
Yeah.
guilty until proven innocent, right? And I'm just using that
Yeah.
example as a parallel example that, oh shit,
Okay.
this is what it feels like. And to have on top,
Yeah.
the concerns of not being.
Yeah. Again, I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's my connection, your connection, but quite often your voice is conking out, and I'm hearing like robot sounds.
Ah,
Like yeah. So like you kind of cut in and out. Can you repeat that last bit you said?
well, I hope maybe I'm recorded on my end. I don't know. It's on your end.
I just didn't hear what you said, so I can't respond to what you
Okay.
just said.
Shit.
So, yeah.
I got a bad memory. Hold on.
I heard the yeah you I understood what you meant by how comparing to how blacks were more uh, uh, arrested more frequently for crimes they might not have committed because of like stereotypes and things like that, and then it all went out.
It's
So,
the lack
like
of
the last
proof.
sentence you said.
So it's basically it's the lack of
No,
proof.
yeah.
In,
Oh,
in,
no,
abs-
this
in,
is
in the
here we
absence of proof lies conspiracy, and this is what
yeah.
they did. Right? Well, why not just let's question them, right? For no other reason because of something they can't help right now, wherever.
Yeah.
Okay, so for people in my position, I can't help to think this right now because I don't. I'm in a place of discomfort. Well, at least you're trying to me the comply, to conform to your comfort. Right, your comfort is what the government's comfort, and Cynthia's texting me. This is when let me just the absence of concrete proof rebels. So
Yeah.
the absence of concrete proof invites rivals from a place of comfort. That's important.
So,
To lecture and mock the guilty with an until proven innocent rationale to
I-
supplement the absence of proof.
I guess where a lot of the difference is that whole notion of lack of concrete proof. Look, we haven't really concretely proven anything ever. Like science is constantly evolving. Our understanding of the world is constantly evolving. As soon as we learn something new, we never figure it out. We just learn more about it, and then it just poses more questions, right?
Right.
Like we're exploring space, and we figured out. And the question for the longest time was there water on Mars? And like, is that a possibility? And then they found some evidence that there might have been water on Mars. Great, we know that. But then that just opens up a whole nother world of questions. Well, where did the water come from? Was there actually life here? Can we actually sustain life here? And this and that. Every time you discover something new, there's always the next question. It's like the bottomless pit of information. So like science is not about proving anything. It's just more about finding the next question, because you can't prove everything because science has been wrong so many times. But at the time, it was like the best knowledge that we had. And it's not that science was wrong per se. It's just like we just didn't understand the whole truth, or we just misinterpreted something. And there's never going to be concrete proof. And and that's people are moving the goalposts about what it will take for proof for like there's never going to be like absolute proof, or at least something that would convince people like you, I guess, that there is. For the longest time, people are saying it's not even FDA approved, this vaccine. The FDA is now approved it. Oh, but they approved it way too quickly. So no, doesn't count, right? There's never enough proof that would actually satisfy people, and it comes from the fact that that science themselves is never 100% sure what they're doing, because it's it's still a work in progress. It's always going to be a work in progress. For all of human existence, it's always been a work of progress. And you know, and but there is an actual truth out there. There is actually a right or wrong, and the desire, your desire to be correct, or doesn't make what you desire to be correct actually correct. And and that's what it is. People are like digging in to an idea that they really want to be correct, but it might not be. But nobody really knows 100% what's correct. We just got to look at what evidence is pointing. And I just look at, like, and again, every case is different. Like, we've talked about how your wife had blood clots issues or health issues in the past that might make it difficult for her to trust the vaccine, and that is completely justified. Like, we don't need 100%, right? We just need to have a certain amount. And if we had like 90% or people vaccinated, or enough people vaccinated, then we wouldn't have to worry about vaccine mandates per se, because there'll be enough herd immunity where people who can't get it won't have to worry about that, because it won't be as prevalent. It won't be spread around as much. But we just need to get everyone who can to do that, and then we don't have to worry about that. So, like, I don't know. It just, yeah.
Let me
I worry about kids, man, going back to school sometimes because they can't get the vaccine. It's not approved for kids 12 and under. I'm not sure exactly why that's the case, or the science behind that, or what's being done in order to come up with a new vaccine or to allow the vaccine to be given to children. But they haven't approved it for those kids yet. They haven't, if they're forcing it on everyone, why haven't, if they're trying to give vaccines away for everyone and they're knowing it's not good for us, but they're doing it anyway, why aren't they making kids do it as well? Why are they, why don't they just say that it's safe for kids too? Like, I don't know. Like, they're doing tests on children still, and they're not comfortable enough with approving it for kids. So that's why they're not doing it yet. But for adults, they say that it can. So, like, I don't know. I don't know.
Can I read this last bit?
Sure.
Let me just scroll up a little bit. Okay, perfect. No, scroll up a little bit. Down, I mean. Down. A little more.
This is one of my many activities. Okay, right?
Yeah, a little more. There we go.
That's it.
Nope.
Okay.
Okay, hold on. No,
the desperation? Desperation? Where are we starting from?
A little bit higher.
Just tell me the sentence you want to start with.
Okay, this is one of the many activities that has divided nations, families, friendships, and staff. This is what happens when life is inconvenient. So, from your point of view, hope you can understand if that relates to you now. Towards those who don't want to get vaxxed, life is inconvenient because these people are making it so. And he said, well, life's inconvenient. What can you do? What happens if I die conforming to my rival's comfort? I'll regret having conformed. And conforming, Chris, I think, is a big piece of the puzzle. Because what it does is it's a big factor in how we come to terms with death. Because if it was my decision, or it's because I conformed and took someone else's advice, and I've tried to put myself in a place where it's like, because I've chosen this path, I could die from this, and I thought to myself, would I regret more if I had not taken the vaccine and I die of COVID, or if I take the vaccine and I die of the vaccine. And the key word is conform. I just lost my spot.
Yeah.
What, did you move it by chance? Did you move the screen
No.
by chance?
No. Here, you were here, I think.
Conform.
You were here.
The desperation to prove rivals wrong trumps the discomfort of being accused of conspiracy. That there, Chris, is what I learned from that Vice video. The desperation to prove rivals wrong trumps the discomfort of being accused of conspiracy. And this is what I'm talking. And this is what I'm talking about. If you're calling someone a conspiracy theorist, the desperation to prove them wrong is more tantalizing than to conform to someone's opinion. And people are literally going to the hospital, right? They could have almost died. I said, no fucking way. No fucking way am I taking that vaccine. Fuck you. And people are like, what the fuck is going on? What's the matter with you? What's the matter with you? It's civility, I think, is what is needed right now. And like mass civility.
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah. Yeah, but again, in certain situations, like I would disagree with that. Like generally, I'm all for listening to other opinions or ideas, but again, 2 + 2 is 4. 2 + 2 is not 5, and like I understand what you're saying about feeling like you're like conforming and all this kind of stuff, but sometimes conforming is what we need to do to be safe. Because it's been shown that if you conform to a certain idea, you'll have a better chance of pulling through whatever kind of situation. And there's many examples that you can give where we all already do conform to certain ideas because it's better off for us. Like seatbelts, we all conform to the idea that, it's safer for us to wear a seatbelt in a car. That used to be not a thing, like even car seats for children, right? We all conform that if we do this, it's safer and better for all of us all together. Like traffic laws in general, right? Like why do we have stoplights? Why do we have stop signs? Like these are all laws that we all sort of conform to because it is safer in general, right? And yes, there's still people who die in car accidents, and there's still people who follow the rules of the road and they still like run off the road and they still get into a crash or things like that, But like but again, like you can imagine how dangerous the roads would be if there was no traffic laws whatsoever. And if people just did what they wanted on the road, I can drive as fast as I want, or I can park anywhere I want, or drive in any part of the road I want, in order to make it easier, or it'll be absolutely chaos. So sometimes conformity is in our own best interest, like that's how we become tribal in a way. We all conform to a certain sets of beliefs. That's how religions get formed. We all conform to the appeals of the religion. And for many, many, many years, it was a way to keep people in line.
Are you pro-religion, Chris?
Keep people together in order to do what's best for the collective. It's that common faith that you all have, that would bring them together. And that actually has been very helpful for many, many generations of peoples in the past in order to get people to think as a collective. And there's always going to be people who conform to something and then regret it, or there's people who are forcing conformity in others and it's not good. Like if you're looking in residential school with indigenous kids, like I truly believe that the people running the schools, like the residential schools back then, I think they believe they're doing the right things. They were wrong, but the vast majority of them, I think, were trying to do what was best for those First Nations people, and they wanted them to conform to the better way of life. Were they right? No. So sometimes conformity is wrong, but like a lot of times it isn't, and you just got to decide what is good and what is not. And I think this is where we disagree. Is that conformity to the vaccines, I think, is a net positive for humanity as a whole. Well, I guess you decide the opposite. And I think that's where it is. I think that's where fundamental disagreements is. It's like sometimes conformity is a good thing, and sometimes it isn't. And deciding when we should conform and when we should protest and object. And this is something I think it's best for everyone if we all conform to this idea. And this is something we shouldn't object to, because I think it's in our own best interest, everyone's best interest.
Do you agree that the government should mandate everyone to be vaccinated?
Oh, absolutely not. Because for starters, like you said, like they're not a fully 100% effective, and they're not fully 100% safe for everyone. Everyone has nuanced positions. Like I said, like I don't know about your wife. I don't know about her medical history and what you've told me. She has complications with blood clots, and I know that there is evidence that some of these vaccines can cause blood clot issues. So there is cases where people cannot get it or should not get it based on their medical history, and that's something that they decide on doctors. So if the government was trying to tell someone whose doctors say that they should not for whatever reason, then the government should not come in and mandate that. Also, if you just want to go and live out in the woods and just stay to your own bubble, if you're not really a public figure who goes around too much, then it's probably not needed for you per se. But for certain situations where you're going to be in close proximity with a whole bunch of people, like potential super spreader events per se, I definitely agree that you should be vaccinated in order to go to these places. Like, don't go to a sports event where you're going to be shoulder to shoulder with people in large lines and large crowds. Don't go to like an amusement park. Don't go to other places if you're not vaccinated, because then you are spreading it to others per se, perhaps, or have that potential to do so. Like that's the way I look at it. So I don't believe that the government should force everyone to do that. But if you're in certain positions, I think you should. It's really tough, because I know about the situation for your wife, but like I think it's very problematic to have teachers going back to school without having a vaccine, because, especially since kids can't get vaxxed. Like, they're not approved for children 12 and under. I got one kid who is under that age, and you have two. And like I would feel so like guilty going into the classroom, because I'm teaching grade 3 and grade 4 this year. A room full of 8 and 9-year-olds, to go in there and not having the vaccine myself. I'm going to be with them all day long. And if I'm like, I would feel absolutely terrible if I had to go in there, because I know that I'll be putting them at risk. And, I know that a lot of parents would not be happy if they found out I was unvaxxed, if I was their teacher. Like if I find out like my son's who can't be vaxxed teacher is unvaxxed and teaching in the classroom, I would probably consider taking him out and making him go from home just for that reason. And I would be very upset about that, because then it's robbing my kids the opportunity of doing that, like of being able to go back to school. Like it's for certain situations, yes, but not for a whole. Like it's if you're going to be around the public, you should be vaxxed. And that's the way I look at it.
I think, well,
I understand what you're saying about conformity, and you believe a certain way, that's fine, and you feel like you are like, if you go against your own principles or your own beliefs or what you believe to be true, and then you're found out you're wrong, then that's something you can't live with. But if you But if you stick to what you believe in, and then you find out you're wrong, then you at least, well, at least I died on my hill and on my terms, and you can feel better about that. And I get that. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I think that's what it is in a way. Like we just objectively feel different things about that.
So I just wanted to highlight what I think it is. What it is. If you scroll down to the illustration,
yeah,
I tried to illustrate the point because I think I only went as far as I can go with words, and I had to try and illustrate it. And basically, if we start, so conspiracy is a supplement for the absence of proof. And that in the diagram is that white squirrel, a circle.
Yeah.
The supplement. So conspiracy is the supplement for the absence of proof. Okay. So in the absence of proof, we form opinions that could snowball into like a group of people believe in it, to like a nation believe in it.
And I totally understand that because, like I said, like science doesn't know everything always. Like it's always the pursuit of the next question. Like science has never really proved anything, really. It just because they're still trying to find the next answer to the next question.
So, in my conspiracy, I've started a conspiracy actually on Facebook because I want to see if it gain any traction.
Oh, lovely.
Vaxxers are organizing an effort to encourage the death of anti-vaxxers through mass judgment to expedite the return to normalcy.
Well, yeah. Yeah, I actually would agree with that. Like, listen, because like, yeah, because I want to go back to be able to, like, I want my wife to run a recital. Like, you know, I want to be able to go to a Raptors game again. I want to be able to, you know, do things without having, like, go to the grocery store without having to wear the mask on. Like, I would love that.
Right.
Like, that would be the best, right? To go back to that world where you didn't have to worry about that kind of stuff, right? And, like, yeah, like, we're trying to convince people like you who doesn't trust the science for whatever reason to trust the science, because people on my side, we trust the science, and we're trying to get you to see what we see. And, you know, like, we're not trying to, like, necessarily, like, kill you guys off. It's not what we're trying to do. We're not trying to kill you. We're just trying to get you to come around and to, you know, to take the vaccine in order to come around, because we don't want our hospitals full. We don't want our healthcare workers having to deal with COVID patients when there's a way that we can prevent that. You know, like, so pretty much everyone in the hospital of COVID are unvaxxed. We could be rid of, like, COVID out of our hospitals. That could be like the new cold, the new flu, you know, like a more dangerous flu, but it could still just be like a flu if we all just take our shots. Like, you know, it'll be like a common cold. Like, COVID's never going to go away. It's just all about how we deal with it. Like tetanus and polio, this stuff is still around. It just doesn't affect us because we have enough herd immunity with it. You know, so it's like, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's funny though.
It is, yeah. Like all we're trying to do is to get you guys to, like, just get on board with what the majority of credible medical scientists are saying. And you know,
I want to walk you through this.
Like, it's so obvious to me. I don't like.
So, Matt, you're the white guy in the white shirt on the top, okay? you're this guy.
Yes.
Okay, so here's the conspiracy. All anti-vaxxers are guilty until proven innocent. Okay, just roll with me. Just roll.
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
Okay, so judge. Let's say it's not just you, but say like everyone that thinks like you. Okay, this represents the whole community, a population.
Oh, you blocked out again.
A whole community, a whole population that thinks like you is represented in that person there.
Oh boy.
Judge. Supplement for the absence of proof.
Yeah. Okay. I just heard I'm the white guy.
Is it still cutting out?
Fuck. Yeah. I didn't. You started your rant. It didn't start. You got to start over. I didn't hear a word you said. I'm the white guy, and yeah. You got to start over. I'm sorry.
Okay, so everyone that thinks like you, the whole whatever the Canadian population is that has your perspective,
is the white guy.
Is the white guy. Okay.
Yeah.
And this is the mentality I see. All anti-vaxxers are guilty until proven innocent.
Yeah.
So this is a judgment, right?
Mm-hmm.
As a conspiracy, because there's no way to prove concretely linking to Shirley that I infected or killed her. The only thing you know is I'm not vaccinated, right? So we're making a judgment call here that, well, you killed her. You had the capacity to kill her. You essentially killed her. You were in the vicinity, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And what's happening is, if we go down to the rings, it's a supplement for the absence of proof, and this conspiracy is blowing further and further out. We go start from camaraderie to policy to mandate to revoking rights, and people are falling off the edge. That's why there's this desperation to be right, because they don't want to fall. But if they fall, it's look at the first rival. At least I have proven my rival wrong because I did not conform to his comfort. So he died knowing that he did not conform, and he was okay with that. Right? So he went to the hospital maybe 2 or 3 times, and then on the 4th time, he died. And it's like, what?
Yeah.
So the desperation to prove rivals wrong trumps the discomfort of being accused of conspiracy. The people that are judging with conspiracy is only making the problem worse. It's making it worse. It's actually it's like you're sending people to the hospital because they will not conform. So if you know that, stop judging them with conspiracy, and then maybe civility might happen. That's all I'm trying to say. That was all from that video you sent me. From that video, because it was like, what the fuck are these people thinking? You know? So that's my piece. That's my piece of. That's all I got. This is a good podcast. This is a good podcast. This is a good one. Oh God, I hope people listen to this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I just hope people listen to it. You know, both sides, and just like civility. I just want to put away the daggers, man. just let's, we need civility, because I think that's we need.
Well, you know, like again, like in this case, I'm actually going to disagree. Like the question in the beginning is, do you want to be right or do you want to be civil? In this case, I'm going to have to go with I have to be right, because like I truly believe that like all these rivals at the end, I think these are all fools. You know, like the whole idea of like I have to prove, or they're like I have to at least I've proven my rival wrong. Like it's like it's they're just in their feelings, and they just, you know, they've entrenched down an idea, and they have to double down, triple down, quadruple down on this idea, even if it hurts them, even if they die, lose their job, or they lose their business. You know, like they don't have to be this way if they can just sort of see beyond, I guess, what their already preconceived notions are. Like I feel bad for all these people, and I don't think it's us pushing this out. I think it's us trying to get you guys to come in, and they're just you're pushing yourselves out.
But no, it's not working, Chris.
Yeah. What's
In
not working?
in all honesty, and if I have to be honest, I think no, I don't. I still want. I'm all for civility.
Yeah.
I just you can't.
Like personally,
I
I could be like I could still be civil with like individual people. Like this doesn't affect me the way I feel about you personally. It's not going to affect our relationship at all. Like and things like that. Like I totally like I still respect you and your ideas and what you're saying. But like I feel like on this situation though, like I think that you know for certain things sometimes you just gotta come together even if it's something we don't like. Sometimes you just gotta eat your vegetables even though you think they're gross. But sometimes Mama knows best. Eat your damn vegetables, kid.
well,
You know,
I
and that's the way I look at it. Like sometimes you just got to eat your damn vegetables.
I feel
And
I feel like I did that.
yeah, and
I
I'm all for like civility when there actually is like legit debate if we're not really sure, or like there's different um, things or different ideas, especially if they don't really hurt each other or different or they don't hurt others, especially when it comes to things that don't matter, like like pop culture or sports or things like that, or even some basic politics stuff. But when it actually affects like the lives and well-being of people, like sometimes like I find it hard to entertain different ideas that in the end might be problematic, and
Chris.
sometimes civility is not the way to be.
Well,
Yeah.
Chris, I quote unquote ate my vegetables by admitting that my decisions will infect and kill. Okay, you can't prove it
Yeah.
necessarily. So I laid on my sword to try and bridge the gap.
Yeah.
So I did what I felt was necessary, and
And I guess you could say I did too, in a sense, because I definitely don't believe that everyone should have to conform. Like, because
right,
again, everyone's situation is completely different. Because again, like what you said about your wife, like again, I'm not really sure. Like I would, like if I had someone like that in my family, if I felt that way, I would have to look into it a little bit more and have more conversations if I know I have this medical past. But for me, I don't. So to me, the decision was quite simple. And for everyone in my family, it was the same. But I know in your family, it's a lot more complicated than that, and I definitely do not approve of it for everyone. Like I made a joke before in passing that we should just go around like hunters and just shoot people in the ass with like dart guns with the vaccine in it. But obviously that's ludicrous. That's crazy. About again because it's not good for everyone involved. You know, and again, if you are choosing to not get the vaccine, but then also choosing out of other things that where like you said you admit that you might be hurting other people. So if you stay away from places where you
yeah,
might be hurting people,
I don't go
then then
anywhere.
that's then that's fine. Exactly. I know that about you, right? And that's basically what I mean. Like so, like to me, I don't see you personally as hurting people. It's just more the people who have their cake and want to eat it too. Even though that expression to me doesn't make any sense. It's like they don't want to take a vaccine, but they still want to do everything that everyone else does, where they
Yeah.
don't give a shit about others. They don't acknowledge that.
If
So like so you yeah
if you're listening, if you're a person who has not been vaccinated and you agree with me, let me tell you something. You stay at home, you go to the grocery store, you visit family. That's all you get to do.
yeah
Okay, that's what I do. And it's great for me because I don't really do anything. But that's you forfeit that. Okay, and that's the reason why you get people like Chris up in
yeah
arms around people like me and others like me because we're choosing not to conform, yet at the expense of those who have, and that's creating very sore tempers, and it's the reason why the government is responding with mandatory vaccines, because
actually
want
it is.
That's why you want your cake and eat it too. Fuck you. You stay at home like me.
Yeah, like exactly, exactly. So like, yeah, like it's exactly it. Like I don't want to have to. Sorry, it's not that. It's like it's all about the hospitals, right? If the hospitals are overwhelmed, and that's when you have issues, because then people doesn't have, like, when they actually have other medical emergencies, like you need to have room in the hospital to treat people who are sick or ill and all of that. And if people are in there because they're not getting vaccinated, still want to go out to here and there, they're getting infected and clogging up the hospitals, that's where it causes all the issues. Like if we didn't have any issues with the hospitals, there wouldn't even be a lockdown at all. The only reason why we had lockdowns is because you got hospitals were becoming overwhelmed. Right. And as soon as the hospitals stopped to become overwhelmed, that's when we started to loosen restrictions. And that's exactly what it is. Like if you're unvaxxed and if you're not actively out in the community spreading, then theoretically you should be fine. Like it just, people who want to get out and go out, and I know lots of people like that, who, you know, they don't. I shouldn't say lots of people, but I know a few people in my own life who don't want to get the vaccine, but yet they want to go out. They want to be in the community. They still want to, you know, have fun. I know one person in the entertainment industry. He's and he and he teaches as well. Like he's in the arts, you know. Someone I know through my wife, I guess, you know, from that regard. And yeah, he still wants to be active and out there, and he's dead fast against the vaccine. And I look at him, and I'm like, oh man, you are the reason why, because you still want to do everything you wanted to do before, but are not trying to protect against the vaccine. But if you just stay to your own self, then it shouldn't be that big of a problem. But again, it's difficult. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. Anyways,
I think that's a good place. That's a good place to end it. We both did something, right? We both achieved something in this podcast, right? And I think I feel good about it. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we both came away with something, and we've shown the people that are watching this is that we can, like, we've established common ground by adopting we've adopted each other's perspective, and we've created some common ground that way. We have
found some common ground.
we've improved the common ground.
Yeah. Unfortunately, you still kick in and out sometimes. I'm not sure if you're talking right now, but I guess I should rate this article at this time. I don't know if you can hear me now.
I can hear you.
Okay, cool, yeah. So here we go. Let me think here. Where would I put this in? Okay. All right. I think I'm going superficial with this. It's because, like, okay, the reason why I'm going with the word superficial out of all of these, because I think it has to be a little bit stronger than I don't like this, or no thanks, or I disagree, or definitely not helpful, because like, you're not trying to be funny, so that doesn't inspire. You know, it's definitely not inspired. I'm definitely not repulsed. I don't think it's idiotic or being deceitful or cowardly or pitiful or anything like that. Because like I think because the reason why I say superficial, because it's focusing more about the feelings of people who feel differently, and how they feel like they're being pushed away by, you know, discomfort and things like that. I think, again, there's a bigger picture involved. We have to think of the whole world involved. And I think just, again, focusing on the feelings of a few people who, you know, feel hurt because they want to prove people wrong about, or want to prove their ideas right, so they're like willing to sacrifice their livelihood or even their own life. I think it's a superficial way of thinking in a way. So like I'm going here when I vote for that. Yeah, because yeah. Oh, look at that, you got people voting as well.
Yeah, I got a bit of traffic.
Oh, cool. Yeah, some people like it. Look at that. That's amazing.
It's a range, right?
Oh, totally.
Yeah, you can imagine the person who thinks I'm a genius.
He obviously is a genius, Sean, because you're a genius, John.
Yeah, well, he's definitely on my corner.
Yes, absolutely, 100%. Yeah. So yeah, there you go. No, yeah, I'm going here because I think it's focusing on wrong things here. So yeah, like normally I'm like at least on this range with you because normally I think we can come together, especially with ideas like religion and some politics, absolutely, and the way we kind of like view upon that. We definitely agree with a lot of those things. But on this topic, on the vaccine topic, I think we're definitely on opposite sides, and I feel good about that word.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like it's
no, it's I agree. But the thing of it is, it's what I believe I've proven is just the reality of the situation that's got us that's got us in the situation, and if all I've done was just trying to bring it to light, so I think if anything it validates it validates the article, if anything.
And that's the thing, like I've noticed that the more you try to talk to people, the more they dig in, and it's a losing battle at my end because like because yeah, the more you talk, the more people dig in, and you just saying that kind of shows that, because like to me it's so obvious about who's being disingenuous, like not between me and you. Like, I don't think you're trying to be disingenuous. That's not what I'm trying to say. I mean, like the information that's out there, like who's trying to be disingenuous and who's not, and things like that. And again, I don't want to go over all of the arguments again, but like yeah, it's definitely fun to talk. This has been really fun.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
I think we're done.
Yeah, that's it, everyone.
Yeah, we're done. My wife just got home.
Okay. Thanks, everyone, for joining. Thanks, Chris, for taking part. And hopefully this doesn't get banned on YouTube. And that's that. So thanks for joining the Good versus Good podcast. Stay tuned. All right. See you, Chris.
Take care.
Bye.
Okay.